You're listening to a production of SportsLink Digital Radio.
Hello, and welcome back from fall break, and welcome back to another episode of My Two Cents here on SL Digital Radio, presented by Victory Honda of Muncie. I'm your host, Dane Massey, and fellas, it's good to be back, and I'm here with my guests, Caden, Vincent, and Laden, Traylor. Caden, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm very happy to be here, Dane.
Len, how you doing?
Well, it was a rough weekend for me. My teams, Notre Dame got beat, Green Bay got beat, so let's just say I'm here. I'm here.
My team had a bye week, so I'm chilling.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We had a nice break to kind of kick back, relax, but we come back into the first day from fall break, and nice to be back with a nice radio show here on My Two Cents. But we'll jump right into it. It's a lot to talk about today with the fall break, and there's a lot of action that has come around the sports world. We'll start with the recap in Ball State sports. How about Ball State football? Another loss on the road against Eastern Michigan, 24-10, and it's their third loss in a row, and the Cardinals will return home for a grudge match against Toledo on Saturday, and it's going to be a tough test for them. I mean, Toledo's a very talented team. They are probably the most talented team in the MAC this year, especially with Taquan Finn at quarterback, and it's going to be a tough challenge for the Cardinals, but the mentality for the Cardinals right now is you got to win every game, and it cannot be anything short because they're 1-5 right now. They're in a hole. They got to find a way to get out of it.
Yeah, Ball State, as you mentioned, has been really struggling this season, and Taquan Finn has been an absolute weapon in the MAC conference and for Toledo, and exactly what they could have wanted out of him. But going back to the Eastern Michigan game, guys, something Eastern Michigan did really well was they were able to contain Marquez Cooper. He had a much bigger game against Western, kind of a slower approach against Eastern Michigan. But again, it was those big explosive plays that Ball State allowed in the secondary that allowed Eastern Michigan to get comfortable through the air and allowed them to take that big lead and obviously win 24-10.
I like where we're at, to be honest with you. 1-5, but looking ahead at our schedule, you look at Toledo, 5-1. Obviously, you have Toledo 5-1, and at the end of the year, you have Miami 5-1. Outside of those two teams, you have Central Michigan 3-3. You have Bowling Green 2-4. You have Northern Illinois 2-4, and you have Kent State 1-5. If you can find a way to win those 4 games, I think you put yourself in a great spot and to maybe even upset one of those teams, against Toledo or Miami. Now, I'd love to beat Miami on the senior day, of course, final home game of the year, last game of the regular season. They're probably going to come in playing for a MAC championship. The way they're playing, they look good. I think if we can get past Central Michigan, Bowling Green, Northern Illinois, and Kent State with wins, I think we'll be pretty good. Now, the defense was a lot better this week at Yipsy, which I love. It was great to see us play great defense. 24 points through 4 quarters in college football. Yeah, I mean, you can't win if you don't score, and unfortunately we didn't really score the ball that much. But defenses, I like where we're going in the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and the defense definitely has improved this week a ton, especially when you look at the games against Western and Georgia Southern, where they gave up 40-plus points.
Yeah.
It's a massive improvement, but that offense is still struggling to get on the ground. And they brought back Lane Hatcher at quarterback for this week, and I mean, he did not play that bad. He looked pretty good under center, but this offense under him has got to find a way to get going because the fans are starting to let their voices be heard about this whole situation. The fact that they're really ticked off at the fact that this team right now should be better than what they are.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. This is a team that should have at least 3 wins right now, and they're sitting at 1-5 and at the bottom of the MAC. And Landon, I wanted to get back to your point about the fact that, well, hey, yes, they have Toledo and Miami at the end of the year, but at the end of the day, they still have at Bowling Green, at Northern Illinois, and yes, these are beatable games, but I have to see a good Ball State team for 60 minutes, and then I can start to rely and be like, okay, yes, this team can really start to win and go from there.
I think the defensive side of the ball showed me what I need to see for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a massive improvement. But there's still a lot of upside around Ball State sports. I mean, Ball State soccer, a team that has really surprised a lot of people. They've come up on the way. They are 6-5-2. They continue to roll in conference plays. They go 2-0 over fall break against Kent State and Buffalo. And get this, guys, they outscored them both 8-1. And I know in soccer, it's a very low scoring, but that is very impressive for this team. And they will travel to take on Akron on Thursday, and they will come home to take on Ohio on Sunday. And this soccer team has been very impressive, to say the least. I mean, when you outscore opponents 8-1, I mean, in soccer, that's like
right.
really, really impressive. And this soccer team really is no joke in MAC play.
No, they have been very impressive, especially as you mentioned. Once they hit MAC plays, they have really been dominant from start to finish. They've been able to, if they had that early lead, were able to contain it. And if it was a close game, 0-0, 1-1, they were able to get that final score. But I've loved the team chemistry, what I've seen throughout this year. And this is a team that really wants to win, and they're showing it on paper. And obviously the win column reflects that.
This team can really make some noise in the postseason, both MAC and in the NCAA. I'm very excited to see them moving forward. They have been playing very good soccer, and I think part of that is because of their out-of-conference schedule. You look how Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Butler, you look at the out-of-conference schedule. That sets them up for success. Playing those good teams, taking a few losses now and then. All right, let's get into conference, where I think that we have the advantage because of our out-of-conference schedule.
Yeah, and speaking of getting into conference, how about this women's volleyball team? They're 9-8 right now, undefeated right now in MAC play, a perfect 6-0 in MAC play as they beat Miami, Ohio, and Bowling Green, both ending in 3-1 match scores as they will come home to take on Akron in a 2-match series on Thursday and Friday. This women's volleyball team had a lot of question marks starting the season. They started 3-8. And against their non-conference schedule, but in MAC play, the Cardinals are just as dominant, and it's really impressive to see.
Yeah, it's pure brilliance what I've seen out of Ball State volleyball in the MAC play. Because as you mentioned, 3-8, and that was when they played Dayton, and they played Dayton, UIC, and Wright State, and kind of really struggled to find their command, find that control, and then they hit MAC play, and they have not looked back. This has been a dominant group of girls, and I've been very impressed with what I've seen so far.
Absolutely. I remember talking on the show a couple of weeks ago, the start of MLB postseason, we were talking about their brutal road trip. They finish out that road trip undefeated, and we're talking a MAC undefeated team right now. They're moving in the right direction, especially at the point of the season.
Yeah, and they get this mess. Apparently, what I've been hearing is that it's Ball State and Western Michigan. Mm-hmm. Who is going to win that division over there against Western? It's going to be a fun one, and it's going to be fun, but right now, you cannot Ball State just can't find a way to not keep their gas off the pedal. They are full steam ahead on that gas pedal right now, and it just proves that this Ball State team can overcome anything. I mean, there were a couple games during that 3-8 stretch where they were like, wow, how in the heck did they lose this game? But they've stormed back in a massive way. I mean, 6-0, undefeated conference record so far, and really Western Michigan right now is their only formidable opponent. Western Michigan looks very, very good, and it's going to be a fun one to see how they do against the Broncos, but you can't really help but be impressed with this volleyball squad. And speaking of squads, Ball State field hockey loses their third straight game against Lindenwood as the woes really continue for this. It's their third straight loss. They'll return home to take on Bellarmine on Friday. I think this is a must-win. It's a must-win for Caitlin Walsh and the Cardinals against Bellarmine. I mean, I talked with her, and she was very, very frustrated with her team, and this team overall was just very, very frustrated. And talking with her, she said it's all mental. We just got to stick to the game plan. We got to get going, and they get a chance to reset against Bellarmine. And I know that this team is known for hitting the reset button on when they need to. And this is a game coming into where they need to hit the reset button. They got to come in clean. They got to start strong, and they got to get a win here against Bellarmine.
Yeah, I will say September 24th, that was their last win against Lindenwood, and they looked really impressive, a 5-0 win. And then I feel like it was that Kent State game, and we talked about they started off pretty solid in the MAC, and then they've kind of just fallen into this kind of deep hole that they're trying to dig themselves out of. And right now, I feel like Bellarmine is the perfect team because on paper they're the same team. I mean, you look at it, 2-2 in the MAC conference, both 5-7 overall. This could be a huge matchup for Ball State, and if the Cardinals are able to kind of overcome this mini drought and get that win, that could really get this team going once again.
Absolutely, this Bellarmine team, this is one that they gotta have. They have to win this game. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, definitely, and it was actually Longwood, not Lindenwood. I apologize, but this was a team that I think the team is noticing is that those were 3 wins that they should have had against Kent State. Then they went on the road against Davidson. They lost to Davidson. And they go against Longwood, and they lose to Longwood, the 3 teams that they probably should have had in the bag, but they ended up slipping away from them. But like you guys said, it's definitely a game where Ball State needs to hit the reset button and come out strong And they need to prove that they belong in that conference conversation going into tournament time. Because there's only 1 month left to play in the season. There's not a lot of time left to make some noise, but there still is some fresh air getting through for them to make some noise in conference play.
Yeah.
Then we move into Ball State golf. How about these Ball State golfers, Cash Beller and Jasmine Driscoll, really making their mark on the Ball State golfing world as the men's golf team finished 10th and the Cardinals women's team finished 8th. As Jasmine Driscoll finished another solid round Tuesday, shooting an even par 72 to climb to 3 spots and finish tied for 5th. And Cash Beller finished 17th overall. I mean, when you talk about both of these golfing squads, I mean, this is a team where they don't have a lot of seniority leadership. It's mostly just young guys. I mean, Cash Beller only a junior, but still has time to prove it. I mean, these are two players that have a lot of ability to prove that they belong, that they are the guys for Ball State. And it's nice to see that with the youth on these teams, and nice to see that the youth is really coming on their own.
Yeah, as Cash Beller, honestly, I've been so impressed with what I've seen from him, and especially the way he's approached his game, that he could give me, like, if he continues in this rate of success, he could possibly go up to the next level and possibly play for a Power 5 school. He's just been very impressive for what I've seen, but for Ball State, having him, he's a huge key to the success, and that's a reason why Ball State is where they are in the golf right now.
Absolutely. You mentioned that. He could very well be playing Power 5 golf very, very soon. We hope not.
Right. Hopefully he stays at Ball State, but we are very lucky and fortunate enough to have him here. But he's got that talent that he could play.
For sure. And then you could make the same argument about Jasmine Driscoll. I mean, she's been an Australian coming over to the United States, playing some really, really solid golf right now for this team. And when I talked to Coach Andrew, he said that she is one of the leaders on this team. I know that they're a young group. They are a very young group. But to have a kind of player like Jasmine Driscoll, who's only a sophomore and is really making the impact that she has, it's really impressive to see for this women's golf squad. Then we move over to the MLB postseason. It's coming and going, and the wild card round was just as sweet. How about this divisional round is just as sweeter? And we got our first sweep of yesterday in a shocker. The Texas Rangers sweeping the number 1 seed Baltimore Orioles. And I can see Laden over there really batting his head. He's really disappointed. Laden, what are your thoughts on that matchup?
Well, the Orioles youth showed in the postseason. You're playing with guys who never even played in the postseason before. And I kind of alluded to it on my first time here on the show a couple of weeks ago. That first round bye, you see the teams that have the first round bye. They are not really performing too well outside of, actually, none of them are really. I mean, Houston, they're kind of struggling right now with the Twins, although the Twins are running out of gas. We'll get to that in a minute. But honestly, the Orioles' youth, it really showed in their inexperience in the postseason.
I think you got to bring up the youth, too, because I was really excited for this series. I was thinking this series could go 5 either way. And the fact that Texas came into Baltimore and swept them in 2 and then dominated in Game 3. I mean, you look at it. Look, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and Robbie Grossman are the 3 kind of leadership guys, in my opinion, on this Texas Rangers squad. And then you look at their bottom lineup. These are all great hitters who've proved time and time again that they could be in that big spot and be in that big moment, and they've all come through. But I've been very impressed with what I've seen from the Texas Rangers offense, especially their defense, holding the Orioles to just 1 run yesterday, 2 in Game 1, and then, yes, Game 2, they did give up 8 runs. But again, Texas was up 9-2 after the 3rd inning. I mean, they had that game pretty much on wraps. Yes, again, Baltimore did have a little bit of Mount comeback, but yes, it shows that veteran presence, wherever it might be in the lineup, really made a difference. And for the Texas Rangers, this is a scary team to play right now, guys.
And I said whoever came out of that Texas and Tampa Bay series was going to beat Baltimore. I said no matter who it was going to be Tampa or it was going to be Texas. Whoever wins that's probably going to end up beating Baltimore. But the way Texas did it, it was a complete bloodbath. Let's be honest. It was not pretty in any way, shape, or form.
They dominated.
And it was domination from start to finish. But this Texas, you got to give Texas credit where it's due. I mean, they have a manager that has that postseason experience and is kind of known to shine in the light of the postseason. But what about this roster that they've assembled? I mean, Nathan Eovaldi, looks like he did in 2018. He looks like a guy that he looks like
he turned back the clock.
He turned back the clock, exactly. And for him to pitch as good as he did this whole not only just this divisional series, but this whole postseason so far has really, really been impressive. And then you add the bats that you mentioned, Caden, with Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, and the entire lineup is just filled with bats that can absolutely mash the ball. And I believe that this Texas Rangers squad is a dangerous one.
Yeah, they're a World Series caliber team. Now, how will they handle sweeping their divisional opponent? Now they got to wait for an opponent now. So they can get some rest. I'm not a fan of the waiting game in baseball when it comes to days off, and now they're coming off a monstrous series win, 3 games. They played their tails off. I'm interested to see how they respond.
And I'm interested to see what Baltimore does. I mean, this was a team
They'll be
that
back.
was not expected.
They'll be back for many years.
Oh yeah, they will for sure. And this was, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that too.
Yeah.
But this was a team that was supposed to have like 90 something losses this year.
Yes.
Had not have a lot of expectations this year, and they get a 1 seed in the AL in a division that was very, 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 very competitive. And they made it very, very far. And this is a huge success in terms of a rebuild for the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, you got Gunnar Henderson and you got Adley Rutschman, who those two alone are going to be superstars in the future. And you got to love what you're seeing down in Baltimore.
Yeah, Dane, I have to say, I'm a huge Cleveland fan, and to me, I have to bring this up. This Orioles team this year reminded me a lot of the Cleveland Guardians from last year.
Oh yeah, it does.
Young, talented, could hit in the clutch. The only thing the Orioles had that Cleveland didn't was they had power, and they had a lot of it too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been very impressed with what I've seen from the Orioles all season long. Unfortunately, I think their age just caught up to them, and we talk about that veteran presence that the Rangers have, and it clearly showed in that ALDS. And again, this is a very dangerous Ranger squad for sure.
Yeah, and definitely. And let's kind of shift away from the only win in this series. Let's kind of talk about these other series and what you guys have seen so far. How about the Astros leading the Minnesota Twins? A game I didn't really expect Houston to sweep. I'll be honest, I expected the Astros to kind of sweep Minnesota under the rug, but Minnesota have proven their worth to try to stay in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, it looks like they are running out of gas. Minnesota is. They did not look good in the last game at all whatsoever. I mean, besides the Orioles beatdown, that might have been the worst game of the postseason thus far, besides any of the Tampa Bay Rays games. The Twins are running out of gas, and it's showing. But that's why you play the game. You play the game because and it's in Minnesota, too, so their season on the line and at home, I think Minnesota forces a Game 5.
I do too, and it's interesting you say that because Byron Buxton's coming back
exactly
for this series. And could he be the X factor? We have yet to see because he hasn't played a baseball in a long, long time. And if Byron Buxton can be healthy and be the guy that he was before he got hurt,
right,
this Minnesota team could give the Houston Astros team some trouble. But I do think that Houston will find a way to pull out this series because Houston's Houston. They find ways to pull out series, and
absolutely.
I'm just excited. If Houston does go into the ALCS, it's going to be a fun divisional matchup, especially with those two squads, the Rangers and the Astros, being in the AL West. They're going to face each other in the ALCS for the pennant. But don't count out this Twins team yet. I mean, they still got they play 5 games. I mean, Minnesota has also been a team known to be a very gritty team, but we'll see what happens.
Yes, I will agree the fact that the Twins are a very resilient team, and they showed that throughout the season, especially in the AL Central mainly. I have a gut feeling that this thing's ending tonight. At 10:15, we will have the Houston Astros against the Texas Rangers at ALCS, a battle of the Texas versus Texas, basically. I just feel like the Astros, if you look at it head-to-head, yes, they have Byron Buxton coming back, but coming back from a huge injury, it's not like he's just going to go 3 for 3 with 3 home runs, okay? This Astros team, I mean, yes, you never know. I mean, these are where the stories are made, are in the postseason. But to me, the Astros are too talented on paper. We've seen this time and time again and how well they've performed in the postseason. I mean, what is it? Like 6 out of the last 7 years, they've made at least the CS, nothing less like the World Series every other year. This is a dominant Astros team that we've seen from start to finish. Maybe the Twins will keep it close, but I have the Astros winning this in 4. I don't think they're going to Game 5.
I think it's going to be close. I think it goes to 5.
I do too.
I think it'll go to 5, but I think Houston with that experience and with them, because I mean Minnesota has not been in the postseason that much. They don't have as much experience as Houston does, and I think that Jose Altuve is too. I think this Houston team with Jose Altuve is just unreal, and especially with Justin Verlander. I mean, you can't count out this Astros team in any way, shape, or form.
What if Minnesota finds a way to pull out this series?
That would be a very interesting series in between Texas and Minnesota. That would be an interesting series.
That Cinderella story could very well continue.
I don't know if I would rather. Well, I was talking about this earlier, actually, as I was saying, like, as an AL Central fan, I guess, or my team is in the AL Central, that the fact that I don't know if I want to see the Minnesota Twins, because I feel like overall the Astros, yes, the Twins are that underdog story. They won the AL Central, but in a weak division. Yes, it would be great if they beat the Astros, but either way, I would much rather see the Houston Astros against the Texas Rangers because I feel like that is a head-to-head, a really fair matchup. We saw throughout most of September in the AL West with Seattle, Houston, and Texas, and it was ultimately Houston and Texas that got those final 2 bids. And there's a reason why, because those are the best teams, and those are the teams I want to see in the ALCS. But if the Twins do define the odds and pull off the huge upset, good for them. It'll be an interesting series to watch for the championship.
And, man, who doesn't really love it? Great. Clearly, you don't like a good underdog story, but...
I do if it's Cleveland. If it's Cleveland, I like it.
Oh, yeah. But,
no,
yeah,
I agree. I do love underdog story, and the Philadelphia Phillies were that underdog story last year. And this year... That's a great series with the Braves. I didn't mean to foreshadow.
We're gonna get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about this Diamondbacks team, and they're leading the number 2 seed Los Angeles Dodgers 2-0. How about this Diamondbacks team? And Atlanta's gonna live feed as the Phillies are playing the Atlanta Braves in a game
Harper
3 right now, and we get a live reaction of Bryce Harper just hitting an absolute bomb, making it a 4-1 ball game. And we'll get to that in a little. Let's talk about this.
I want to see the bat flip.
Let's go straight to that. Let's go straight to this Phillies series. I mean, the Phillies Atlanta Braves series. This rivalry has really taken a next step and the next level with the Phillies and the Braves, especially after last year where the Phillies absolutely just upset the Braves. And it looks like for right now they might do it again.
Yeah, the Philly in the postseason is something special. I mean, I'm obviously watching with the sound off, but you can just feel postseason baseball in Philadelphia is something special. Yeah. I mean, it's special in the regular season. They'll pack that place in the regular season. It's especially packed in the special in the postseason. Now, this series is shaping up to be one of the best. It's shaping up to be a historical matchup, a historical series. I'm very interested to see not only the outcome of this game, but how the loser responds. And it looks like Atlanta right now isn't really responding too well to the environment. In Philly as Bryce Harper, here's the bat flip. He just flips that thing.
That's what I said. I watched
awesome.
The bat flip.
But anyway, the Phillies, man, They're trying to play spoiler again. You did say a couple weeks ago, Dane, that if Atlanta does not win the World Series this season, very well could be labeled as a failure.
Yeah, and I did say that. And it looks like it's, especially if they lose to the Phillies again for the second consecutive year, it will be a massive flop because this Braves team, from the time that they were basically in March, since the season started, they were bred up to be the World Series favorite. And it is a very convincing argument that ever since then, they have proven to be probably one of the best teams that we have seen in baseball in a long, long time. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Absolutely.
This team is dangerous in terms of baseball history. It could be up there as one of the best, one of the probably top 25 best teams in baseball. Right. And with this, if you lose to the Phillies for the second consecutive year, and I will say, Philadelphia baseball, hats off to you because Philadelphia is a crazy town. Their fans are absolutely nuts, and they bring the noise for sure. And Bryce Harper and Trey Turner are a duo that is on a different level, and they are showing it against the Braves.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said March. No, I was thinking Atlanta was ready to get revenge after October 16th of 2022. They were coming for the Braves. I feel like both these teams knew they would face off in the playoffs because we saw Atlanta rolled in April, rolled in May, and throughout the entire year. Philadelphia, what did they do last year? They got hot in September. What did they do this year? They got hot in September. This is the same Phillies team that I'm seeing last year, except this year, I believe in this team because they've been there before. They can prove that they can obviously compete with Atlanta. They were in the World Series for a reason, and that's that same Phillies team. Yes, they don't have Rhys Hoskins, who they had last year, but a lot of guys have stepped up this year for the Phillies, as you would have expected in the postseason. But yes, postseason in Philadelphia, there's nothing. I mean, Philadelphia Phillies baseball, as you said, hats off to them because they are passionate. As it's incredible to watch, and I honestly wish this was a 7-game series because I would want to see 7 games with these two teams head to head. I mean, Game 2 might have been the most intriguing ending I've seen in a very long time, with Michael Harris making that incredible catch and then that throw back to Freeman. I mean, that atmosphere in Atlanta is something, and then you go to Philly. Boy, this is going to be a fun series to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And can you guys imagine if the two hottest teams in the postseason right now, Texas and Philadelphia, both face off in the World Series?
I would buy
that. Would be
that.
Crazy. That would be an amazing series in terms of just how much talent is on both. Because both of these teams are just so similar in how they're built. I mean, they both spent so much money on bringing in prime stars. I mean, look at the Philadelphia Phillies brought in Bryce Harper a couple of years ago, and then they just brought in Trey Turner, who was basically kind of the Reese Hopkins, basically the replacement for him in the infield. And then you look at the Texas Rangers, who brought in Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. And it's just two teams that are so similar to each other in how they're built. I mean, the Phillies also got Kyle Schwarber, who's also has proven his joint at the bat.
I love that you said deGrom and Scherzer, and over here I'm thinking, the New York Mets, and now they're on their couches. They've been watching baseball for about like 3 weeks now.
But I do think that this series, in terms of, if you want to look at it from a 2-year perspective, the Phillies and Braves series, these two series alone, might be the two greatest ever. This might be the greatest postseason rivalry in this 2-year stretch of all time.
Absolutely.
I can make that debate. I can make that argument.
I agree.
These two teams hate each other. They hate each other. I mean, they're division rivals, and they're playing for a trip to play for the pennant. It doesn't just get any better than that. I mean, Atlanta's looking for revenge. Philadelphia's all looking for another postseason run or another World Series run. It doesn't get any better than that.
I think it's up there with Houston and New York.
I think so too.
Up there because we know.
I think it's above Houston and New York. I really do.
I do as
to
well.
an extent, because they're division rivals and they play each other a lot more. But I feel like the history between the Astros and the Yankees runs, you guys both know, early 2010s to the late 2010s and now to 2020, or to the 2020s. But yes, I have loved what I've seen about both of these teams. They're extremely talented. They have fantastic pitching. But again, this is that Phillies team that I said if they get hot in September, because if you really think about it, it's not the best team on paper. We mentioned the Tampa Bay Rays were one of the best teams coming in.
Yep.
They were they lost to the Rangers in 2 games. That's exactly what I'm saying, is the fact that it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season. To me, it's the hottest team, and the hottest team will get to the World Series.
Yeah, for sure. And, this is a team. If Texas and Philadelphia end up meeting in the World Series, it will be 2 Dodgers stars going up against each other.
I could see
Trey
that
Turner
series
and Corey Seager.
reminding me as Cardinals Rangers in 2011.
It could very well be that way. And we all know how that ended. It was a very, very great series, and I think it will be another
Or
series.
I don't really want to bring it up, but 2016 World Series
could be that
has
too.
That written to it.
It could be that too.
Yeah.
This World Series is the first postseason I've seen in however long I've known baseball, since I was born.
Absolutely.
This is probably the first one in a long, long time that it's so unpredictable. And don't get me wrong, this postseason is always unpredictable. It always is. But this is the one where we're like, I don't know who's going to win this one. There's no clear winner here. I mean, everyone thought it was the Braves, but the Phillies are showing that, hey, we're still here. We can still make a run, and they're proving it here tonight. And they still have a 4-1 lead in the third right now. I mean, that game's going to be ongoing. But right now, Philadelphia looks like they have Atlanta's number again.
Absolutely they do. And, another team who really is playing well, I don't mean to force your hand here, but the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I agree
making
with
a
that.
statement right now.
I think it's about time we move on to the Diamondbacks, too, because we were talking about the series. We talked about this Atlanta Braves, and I get that it's an exciting series, but this Diamondbacks team is not something to be ignored. I mean, 2-0 over the Dodgers. The Dodgers, a team that we thought were going to sweep Arizona under the rug, but Arizona, another divisional foe, saying, no, take us seriously. And this was also a Diamondbacks team that had a division lead, I think, up until June. And with Corbin Carroll, my God, he can rake. And I love a good young team in the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, that's a perfect blend with Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll, both a good blend of veteran and rookie leadership coming together. I mean, Corbin Carroll's going to win the NL Rookie of the Year. But this series between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers really solidifies that point.
When you say veteran from Ketel Marte and that rookie presence of Corbin Carroll, the person that comes to me really is Tommy Pham. And what an addition he has been to the Diamondbacks. And he has been honestly carrying this team. He has showed nothing short of brilliance for this Arizona Diamondbacks team. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him. But yes, I've been very impressed with what I've seen from the Diamondbacks ultimately. They went into LA and completely dominated both 2 games. This team could get a 3-0 sweep, but I think the Dodgers are too talented that this series could flip very quickly, despite being in Arizona.
I think it could be an interesting series in Arizona because I know that Arizona fans will pack the house and they will make some noise in the postseason because this is one of their first actual runs that they've had in a long, long time.
Since
And I think fans are starting to sense it. Yeah, I think fans are starting to sense that they could possibly be the team to beat in the NL. And I mean, these championship series are right now are sorting out to be very, very fun.
Yes,
They're starting out to be two very fun series. We could have the Rangers and the Astros in divisional matchup, and then the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, two underdog teams, the 4 and the 6 seed going up against each other in the NLCS. I mean, but you can't come out this Dodgers team, like you said, Caden, because this Dodgers team is known to be in tough battles. I think they battle back with 1. I don't think that the Dodgers will have enough to get 2. I don't think they push it back to LA. I think that the Diamondbacks, with how hot they are and how hot Corbin Kittle's bat is, I think Diamondbacks could get it done in 4.
Get the brooms out. I think Arizona sweeps LA. I think LA is done.
Wow.
I think LA is done. They looked awful in these 2 games. Awful. The worst they've looked all year. It's not looking good for LA. I think bias aside, they did not look good. I don't care if you're even a Dodgers fan has to say they did not look impressive in these first 2 games. And if you're a Dodgers fan right now, you cannot be really confident moving into Game 3, especially on the road with a team that's making a postseason run for the first time since they won the World Series.
Yeah, definitely. And this Dodgers team, just ever since they went on that run, I mean, they just have not been able to find the corner to make a dynasty. And it's just been that one World Series to show for it.
Well, let's be honest. That was a shortened season. That was a shortened playoff or expanded playoffs. That was...
It wasn't how baseball should have been.
It counts, but do people really see it as counting? At the end of the day,
I think you bring up like the whole pandemic and the Lakers winning the
that's a whole other debate for another time.
The bubble.
That's a whole other debate for another time.
No, but to add on the last thing, I think yes, the Dodgers have really struggled, and I have not seen a lot out of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and the starting really lineup from the Dodgers, and that's what they're lacking. If those guys can get going tonight. And if the Dodgers can somehow convince a Game 4, if I'm Arizona, watch out. I know you're home, but we've seen this Dodgers team get hot and hot again. In the postseason, in the regular season, we obviously know they have the pitching. They have the bats. I've seen a lack thereof throughout this postseason for the Dodgers. They need to get their acts together before it's too late. But if they can, watch out.
Yes, certainly. And it's shorting up to be a very exciting postseason going forward. But we're going to move on to some college football. And some of the biggest results from Week 6, we'll go over that real quick. How about this Oklahoma team upsetting number 3 Texas in the Red River Showdown? I mean, we predicted that it was going to be a very close match. It was going to be a grudge match as these two teams basically hate each other. But I think this is pretty much a statement going into next year with them going to the SEC and this rivalry showing that this rivalry is one of the best in college football. But right now, I kind of want to ask you guys, is there really still hope for Texas to make the college football playoffs still with a loss against Oklahoma?
That's a really great point. I just wanted to bring up great win for Oklahoma. I actually had them winning. I feel like Texas in these big games, and yes, they play them every year, but to me they fold under pressure against a good Oklahoma team, and this is a very, very good Oklahoma team. And they clearly proved it against Texas. Yes, it was a very close game, but it was a great game. Great job all around by Oklahoma of getting this 34-30 win. But to answer your question, yes. Because there will be a time in the Big 12 championship that if the cards are played correctly, these two teams, I believe, are in different. If I'm not mistaken, they are in different conferences. If they both win out and they'll face each other, if they do, in the Big 12 championship, I'm not sure if that's like East-West, how that exactly works. But if they do, Texas has a chance to bounce back. And if they stay hot, the thing with Texas is they get 1 loss. They get 2 losses. They get 3 losses. They fall off the map, and before you know it, they're a 4-loss team. If they can stay hot and continue the way that they play, because even you look at it, Quinn Ewers had a fantastic game for Texas. I mean, he really did. 346 yards. Yes, he threw 2 picks, but he did have a touchdown. He showed a lot of promise in that Oklahoma win. But, again, Texas has played well, or Oklahoma, they both played well. And ultimately, I do think Texas still could get back into this race.
Landon,
play the theme music. This team is special. Brent Venables brought defense back to the Big 12. Boomer Sooner is legit. I haven't seen a team.
Oh, if that's the question, I think they're phenomenal.
I do too.
I have not seen an Oklahoma team play defense like this in my life since Bob Stoops, actually. You look back to all those teams. But Texas is still in it. They will meet in the Big 12 championship again. I don't think there's divisions in the Big 12. I think it's basically just 1 versus 2, and Texas essentially has to win out. There is a chance that they drop one now and then. We could see it. We've seen Sark do it all the time. We've seen Texas especially drop it. But I think these two rematch in Dallas in December when it's all said and done.
And we got a preview of the Big 12 championship, and what a game that's going to be, especially with the game that we saw here today in another neutral site in Dallas, Texas, in AT&T Stadium. It's going to be a fun one to watch. But I think Texas could still have a chance if they, like you said, guys, if they get hot, if they end up beating Oklahoma out for the Big 12 title, they could very well make the college football playoff, possibly as a 3 or 4 seed, depending on who wins that Ohio State-Michigan matchup. And it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think that this is always a fun game, no matter which team is good and which team is not. It's always going to be close, and this is just a preview of the Big 12 championship, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. Then we move over to the SEC. How about this LSU team upsetting number 21 Missouri on the road, 49-39, and LSU, a team that I thought was pretty much dead in the water, but turns out that they are not. They are still afloat. And can LSU continue its momentum with a win against a ranked opponent in Missouri?
They didn't even look impressive against Missouri. I mean, that game was very sloppy. That game was honestly disgusting. I didn't watch it. I was on the way to Louisville, but I got to watch clips of it in the hotel. That game was disgusting. 49-39. I don't know what Missouri was doing. They had a 2-touchdown lead at one point in the game. They blew that. It was LSU fans. BK, have it your way at 8-4.
Yeah, I mean LSU's offense. I mean they kind of really struggled to find their groove before they had to put the panic button and put up 22 in the fourth quarter. And they won 20. They outscored Missouri in the fourth quarter by 15 and won by 10. Missouri had a lead against LSU. I mean, that's not even that doesn't even sound realistic if you think about the history that these two teams have had and how dominant LSU has been, especially over the Tigers. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing great. And LSU, I thought, coming off that Ole Miss game, they would, get their stride going, find some confidence, and then, yes, they won, but, I mean, a 10-point win at Missouri is not something to be too pleased with.
And this is probably one of the most talented Missouri teams that we've seen in a very long time. Missouri is not a team that we really know in the rankings as well. But LSU, this is probably one of the worst defenses I have seen from an LSU squad. And for them to give up 39 points is definitely not impressive. And the way that this team as a whole, with Brian Kelly at the helm, this is probably one of the worst teams that we've seen under his reign so far. And LSU they probably get another win, possibly. They probably get another upset under their belt. But I just think that in terms of their competition, that they're not going to be up there. And obviously they're not going to be up there in the college football playoff. But, they could probably be an 8-4 team and still be ranked in terms of just the quality of their wins, but their that defense is just not very good, and I just don't think that LSU can't keep up the momentum. But
they're an SEC team.
They are an SEC team.
We know the committee loves putting the SEC teams in there. We know that.
I think if college football, I think it would be fun, to be honest with you. Notre Dame obviously is out of contention for the college football playoff. I would love to see LSU and Notre Dame in a bowl game.
That'd be interesting. Interesting.
I'm with that. That would be a very interesting matchup to see, especially just depending on how the season plays out.
Yep. And how about Chip Kelly? I mean, speaking of former NFL coaches, how about Chip Kelly? UCLA upsetting number 13 Washington State 25-17, and Chip Kelly back in the rankings in the AP poll this week. But how does Washington State rebound after a crucial loss against Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins?
Well, I just want to give a quick shout-out to UCLA and congrats on that huge win against Washington State. But the one game I wanted to look at was a very close game against Utah. So an upset like this wasn't too surprising. I give UCLA all the credit. But for Washington State, they have Arizona, right? They cannot act like a trap game because they go into Oregon next week, and we know Oregon's playing Washington, which will be a great game. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yep.
But Washington State cannot overlook this Arizona game because if it does, if they do, their season's done. If they can go into Eugene and somehow shock Oregon and upset Oregon, they have an easy path after that. At Arizona State, Stanford, Cal, depending on how Colorado is toward the end of the year, we'll see.
Yep.
And then ending the season at Washington. If they can win out, I think this is a team that could. I'm not even going to say will make the Pac-12 championship. I can say they'll make the college football championship if they
Really?
work out. I think they make the college football playoff if this team seriously wins out. Because look at yes, they lost to UCLA, but they can overcome this loss by winning the rest of the row. And for Washington State, they got to get that confidence back, and they cannot overlook this game against Arizona coming up.
I don't know about that. I think I'll disagree with that. I think they have a tough road ahead, to be honest with you. Arizona is not a pushover at all. That is going to be a very tough game. They're coming off of a heartbreaking triple overtime loss against USC on the road. Washington State coming off of a loss against UCLA. They go on the road at Oregon. I'm going to chalk that up as a loss. They go at Arizona State and Stanford. Those are 2 wins. At Cal, that should be a win. Colorado should be a win. At Washington, that is, I'm going to chalk that up as a loss as well.
My thing is a Stanford team that they beat them by 1. And Stanford, we know, is not anything great in the Pac.
Yeah.
But yes, I do agree. I don't know how this Washington State team will play the rest of the year, so it depends. But if they do get hot, watch out. If not, this is going to be a 5, maybe even a 6-loss team.
Yeah, and Washington State really has that explosive offense that we've mentioned on the show multiple times. I mean, Washington State has a very explosive offense this year. Probably one of the better Washington State teams that we've seen. But I mean, you can't deny NFL experience with Chip Kelly and this UCLA team. And this is a UCLA team that I thought wasn't going to be very good. And it turns out I'm dead wrong because they have Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly as a coach, he's saying is never count them out. I mean, you don't count them out yet, but UCLA continuing to make some noise in the Pac-12. Speaking of the Pac-12, we talked about it briefly. Len, you mentioned it briefly, but USC surviving Arizona triple overtime, 43-41. And is this really a concern for the Trojans moving forward if they want to compete in the college football playoff?
Absolutely. Their defense needs to get fixed right away. Your team can put up 50 points, yes, but if you're giving up about 41 points per game, I have my own college football podcast. I'll pull up some stats really quickly for you. It's actually insane, the amount. They've allowed 162 points this season and allowing 27 points per game.
Wow.
I mean, you add those up, you're averaging 52 points per game, yes, but you're also allowing 27 points per game. You let Colorado manhandle you in the second half and score 41. You let Drew Pine, the transfer from Notre Dame at Arizona State, light you up all night long. And then you let Arizona, of all teams, you let Arizona come to your place, keep you on your toes the entire game, and take you into three overtimes.
Yep.
I mean, they took you into 3 overtimes
At
in
home.
the Coliseum in a game that you were supposed to win by 3 touchdowns. I don't know. They have to fix this defense. It's a reoccurring thing also with Lincoln Riley. You look at Baker Mayfield, his team, once again, their defense let them down when it needed to. I think, unfortunately, for the Trojans, their defense is going to let them down in a big-time spot this year again.
I will say, for the longest time, that Lincoln Riley Oklahoma defense was something else. In the regular season in 2017, they were very special. And then when they hit the college football playoff is when things, we all know, kind of fell apart. But it's funny. You just mentioned that you think don't take this Arizona team lightly. Well, here they are coming off that narrow, 2-point overtime loss, 3 overtime loss against one of the best teams in college football, the USC Trojans. But also, you look at their upcoming schedule. This is what I like looking at, is seeing those games going forward and how it plays out. They have at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is just a mystery right now, in my opinion. We don't know, because it seems like they've had the hardest 5-game stretch in college football. They really have. And then they have Utah coming up. So to me, I just feel like this USC team, they have a tough 2 games potentially, and then of course Washington, Oregon end the year, and even UCLA you look at too. But to me, I think USC, you mentioned it perfectly, is this defense has got to clean it up, or else they're going to seriously cost themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something, a theme I've noticed with USC is over Lincoln Riley's reign, is just the bad defenses that he's had. And it's not really something that Lincoln Riley is known to really have, is a terrible defense not in the regular season. No. I mean, like we've mentioned. Yeah. But they've got to get together. I mean, there are teams that are on. It's not like USC is running away with this Pac-12 right now. because they still got Oregon, they still got Washington. They still got Washington. They still got Washington State in that mix. They still got UCLA in that mix, and it's just a very, very interesting conference right now with the Pac-12, and you gotta love what you're seeing. And USC is really struggling to survive right now.
Absolutely, they are. That schedule is nothing light either. I've been hard on USC for a couple of weeks. However, for a couple of years actually. However, this schedule that they assembled this year, I don't think anybody expected the Pac-12 to be this deep. I mean, wow. This Pac-2, I should say, actually, they're going out. They're going out on
it's
bang.
sad.
I mean, but I will say, the spot that USC is in right now is not good. It's just not good with how they're playing defensively heading into the thick of their schedule.
Yeah, and speaking of teams not playing really up to their standards, how about this Louisville team getting a massive upset over number 10 Notre Dame? And Laden seems a little bit frustrated with this one, being a Notre Dame fan, but, I mean, what does the future for both Notre Dame and Louisville look like going forward?
Man, I will say this Louisville football team is something else. Man, that game, that atmosphere on Saturday was electric.
I was about to say, take it away, Landon, because we know this is going to be your time to shine.
I had the pleasure of being there at Louisville on Saturday. Electric atmosphere.
Oh, you were at the game.
Electric atmosphere.
That makes it even better for you.
Yeah, electric atmosphere. Their fans are a little mean. I'll digress there when it gets to the stadium. But this Louisville team, they came to play from that first possession. Man, Sam Hartman, he's not the guy I thought he was going to be. On my college football podcast, my Notre Dame podcast specifically, we called him South Bend Sammy. He's now been demoted to Samuel Hartman from Wake Forest because his performance these last few weeks has just been very subpar. I mean, that first big throw he made was an interception. Now, I don't like the play call there, trying to go on a go route with a freshman. Not a tall freshman, a 5'9" freshman, Enrico Flores, and it gets picked off. I'll digress there. But Louisville, I think they can make some noise in the ACC. They have one tough game remaining, I think, and I think it's Duke in a couple of weeks. That should be a good game. I'll take Louisville, though. If they can run the table, I think they can meet up with possibly Florida State. This could be a college football playoff team. I love Jeff Brom. Actually. And I wish Notre Dame got him as their offensive coordinator when he was for hire this past offseason. Because right now, the way that Notre Dame is going, they have a lack of leadership, they have a lack of offense, and a second-year head coach mixed with a first-year offensive coordinator is just not a good mix at Notre Dame. Look, I love Marcus Freeman. I love the guy. Notre Dame is not the place you come to learn to be a head football coach. Notre Dame needs a veteran head coach at the helm, and it showed a lot. You look at Oklahoma State, that first game of Marcus Freeman's era, he took over in the bowl game. He blows a 30-point lead against Oklahoma State. He loses a winnable game at Ohio State against C.J. Stroud in the first game of the year. He turns around and loses to Marshall at home. He loses to one of the worst Stanford teams in Stanford history last season, 16-14. Your team scores 14 points against Stanford last year?
This is at home, too.
Yes, at night. And then he loses to USC. I get, after the Stanford loss, he kind of lit a switch. He loses to USC last year. Okay. This year, we get Sam Hartman. All this stuff about Notre Dame being a powerhouse. You put 10 men on the field against Ohio State and lose the game right where they ran. You then play like trash at Duke, and then you just get simply outcoached and outplayed on the road at Louisville. So right now, speaking of a spot, like you said, Notre Dame is not in a good spot at all. I think their defense is gassed. They've been putting themselves in a position to win, but the offense has not backed them up. It's just like baseball, They have no run support, and you could have great pitching. They just don't have the run support to back them up. And so with that, I'll digress.
I think we're good on our part of the analysis.
He pretty much, the only thing I wanted to mention real quick from that Louisville game is, by the way, when you said run scored, it's now 6-1 Philadelphia over Atlanta.
Yep.
But no, what I did want to bring up was the fact that Louisville's defense, don't take anything away, they were superb against Notre Dame.
Oh, amazing.
We know Notre Dame has struggled this year. I'm not going to bring it up, Landon. Don't worry. No more Notre Dame slander. But I did want to bring up Jawar. I believe it's Jahar Jordan for the Louisville Cardinals. He has been superb, and he has really carried this Louisville running team. Obviously, 87 carries, 653 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 7.5 yards per carry. I mean, that's got to be tops in probably the FBS. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him, and honestly, this overall Louisville Cardinals team, and this is the team definitely to watch out for.
Oh, here's another thing from Notre Dame: 1.6 yards.
Here we go.
1.6 yards per carry for Notre Dame against Louisville. I thought we were supposed to be offensive line university.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's just out the door. Can we move on, please? I'm gonna rip my hair out.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Probably a good idea for Landon's sake.
Yeah, I think we all need
But I think it's something that we need a little bit more. You need a little more cheer up, Landon. I got you.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech upsetting number 17 Miami in a wild last couple of minutes.
Can I just say that's the same Georgia Tech team that lost by, 18 or 21 against
Bowling
Green. And
Yes.
they scored a last-second touchdown to Georgia. It was
Yeah.
over in the third quarter against Bowling Green. All right, sorry. Just had to bring that up. But go on, dude.
Yeah, that game was wild. I wish I had the words to describe what I witnessed in that game for the final minutes.
We can't say
But
it
I
on
don't,
the show.
because we cannot say that here, because I almost lost my
We're a
mind.
PG
I was like,
show.
what are you doing? Just kneel the ball out
As,
and call it a game.
As my dear
They did not do that.
As my dear friend Richard Sherman said. Actually, no, they did do that. I was going to say run the ball, but they decided to do that, and it costed them the game. Take a knee. You won the game. What is there fantasy in college football that I didn't know about?
Yeah,
There's
seriously.
no reason to run the ball. They had the game won. There was literally, it makes no sense to me. And then how the heck do you have triple coverage at the 20-yard line when you have nobody over by the end zone, have him wide open, and he gets behind the last safety? I was like, you got to be kidding me.
It was ugly.
I know I may sound like a Miami fan right now, but that ending was just incredibly stupid.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
If there was a perfect sound effect to sum up the last couple minutes, it'd be
Wah,
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 wah. Yep.
You and I thought the same thing.
Yep. That'd sum it up for me.
I mean, I thought Miami has been a little overrated all year.
I do too.
There was a lot of hype around
There
Mario
was.
Cristobal and Miami this year, which I don't know why. They kind of jumped into the rankings for no reason this season. They played Texas A&M, but we all know how Texas A&M ended up panning out this season.
Exactly, yeah.
And another thing, this is the second time that Mario Cristobal has done that. In 2018 against Stanford, he did the same exact thing, and Stanford ended up winning in overtime. Man, I mean, does he have, I wonder, we ought to do an investigation. I think he has an account on DraftKings to cover the spreads on these games that he should win easily.
It was not pretty to say the least. I do think Miami their hype train has slammed shut in their face.
Yeah.
Yes.
I 100% think that.
Their season's over.
Their season is
their
100%
season's done.
over. And how they are ranked, I have no idea.
I know. Did you see
How are
their
they
ranks?
ranked?
Are they
That's what I want to
25th?
know. How are
25th?
they ranked? I think you're just giving North Carolina a free ranked win.
Fun fact,
I
that's,
legit think
if
that's
you guys
right.
actually aren't aware, that's your ABC game of the night, is a team who just
Oh,
blew it
no.
against...
Well,
they play North Carolina, which...
North Carolina's good.
They are good. And honestly, I could still
Surprisingly good.
say Miami was good if it didn't end like that. I mean, that's just crazy, but...
Yeah, that's probably gonna be a meme of college. That's probably gonna be the meme of college football for this season.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Sure.
People will talk about this next year.
They're gonna talk about that
Miami's,
this forever.
Miami's known for those crazy endings. Obviously, the Duke versus... Was it Duke versus
Duke versus Miami.
Yeah,
Yep.
years ago. So,
Yep. Yeah, but speaking of that, we'll leave that with our recap of college football this week, and we'll go into our pick'ems and preview for Week 7 of college football season. We've officially hit the halfway point of this college football season.
This
It
is
went by
my time
so
to talk
quick.
now. No, I'm kidding.
And we'll talk about the first matchup. We'll go into the number 3 Ohio State, undefeated so far, going on the road to take on Purdue, and it's not gonna be close. I got Ohio State.
I will. I'm gonna go a little bit just because this is Ohio State, and obviously me being a huge Buckeye fan, I'm not gonna go Notre Dame deep. Don't worry. But I will say this: I have not been impressed at all what I've seen from Ohio State, even against Maryland. I mean, they were tied with Maryland at halftime. And Maryland was running. If it weren't for that pick six, I could say Maryland could have won that game. They had all the momentum. But honestly, I do think Ohio State will end up beating Purdue. I have them winning 41-23, but I have it being a struggle in the first half for Ohio State.
Last time these two met was at Purdue was 2018. I got OSU winning. It's going to take a lot for Purdue. It was a night game. It was an electric atmosphere. I got OSU big.
Yeah, we'll try to go through these pretty quick. And Syracuse going on the road, take on number 4 Florida State, undefeated. I got Florida State, and I think it's gonna be closer to what people think. I think this Florida State team is overrated. And but I do have the Seminoles in this one. They're taking on Syracuse, a little bit of a light opponent at home. If it was at Syracuse, I'd probably give the edge to Syracuse, probably by a field goal. But it's going to be against Florida State, so I got Florida State at home.
I think Florida State's as good as anyone in college football. I have them winning pretty big, 33-16 against the Orange.
Yeah, they struggled last week against Virginia Tech.
They did.
I think they're going to struggle against Syracuse, but I do have the Seminoles edging out a close victory over the Orange.
Yeah, and Utah really needing a win. California going on the road to take on number 16 Utah. I'm gonna take an upset. I'm gonna go California here. I think that Utah just with Cam Johnson.
I'm sorry.
I think Johnson just hasn't looked like the guy. This offense for Utah has just really been struggling, and I just think that this Cal team will give them some trouble, and I think Cal will pull it off in an upset.
Oregon State beat Utah last week. Mm-hmm. Utah is going to take it personally, and they are going to take it to Cal, and I got them winning 45-10. I have this thing being a blowout in Utah's favor. I think they avenge that loss very quickly.
A lot of question marks concerning Utah. I think they still are going to – overall, they're more talented than Cal. That's why I think I'm going with Utah to win this game. But I think it's closer than a lot of people think. Yeah.
And obviously, College Game Day going to Seattle, Washington for this game. This is going to be a fun one. Number 8, Oregon, taking on number 7, Washington. A battle in the Pac-12 and a battle of undefeateds. Who do we got? Caden?
I have Oregon. I think Oregon just a little bit better than Washington. Yes, I do know where the game is being played, but Eugene – those Oregon fans, they travel extremely well. It seems like it's always a home game when Oregon's on the road. But I have Oregon edging out Washington in this one, 38-34. I think it's going to be an absolute thriller.
It's not going to be a home game for Oregon this time around. Washington, they're legit. I think they are underrated. I think they should have been ranked at the top 4 already. I have Michael Penix and the Huskies beating Oregon.
This is a Heisman. I think this is a Heisman matchup.
Yeah.
I really do. This is a battle of who gets the edge in the Heisman Trophy voting. But I'm going to give it to Washington. I love Michael Penix and being a former Big Ten guy at Indiana. I think he's played phenomenally. I think he's a little bit better than Bo Nix. I personally think he's a little bit better than Bo Nix with him being in a new system at Washington. Mm-hmm. And this Washington team will bring the noise. If this was at Oregon, I think Oregon would blow them out. But I think that Washington certainly has an edge in this Pac-12 matchup, so give me the edge for Washington. Then we would go back to the SEC. Texas A&M coming off a loss against Alabama. They traveled to Tennessee to take on the Vols. Who do we got, Caden?
I got Tennessee winning this one. I think it'll be close. I think Texas will be able to compete with the Vols, but I eventually do have Tennessee winning this one. Actually, kind of close, 30-23. I think Tennessee's able to pull away in the fourth.
I got A&M on the upset. Out of division game. Give me A&M.
Yeah, I like Tennessee. I like this Tennessee team ever since last year when they had that quarterback, Hendon Hooker, at quarterback. And I just love this Tennessee team, and I just love Tennessee's atmosphere. Give me the Vols in this one.
They blew it this year, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
they had John Milne at quarterback.
They lost
he's not Hendon Hooker, but
they lost 2 great wide receivers last year in the draft, and I think that's what's
Then we go back to number 23 Kansas going on the road to take on Oklahoma State. I got Kansas in this one. I think that despite their quarterback troubles with Daniel being hurt and being out, I think that Kansas can find a way to get it done. And I got Kansas in this one.
Oklahoma State with a huge win over Kansas State last week. I think they continue their domination over the state of Kansas. Give me Oklahoma State at home.
Yeah, I got Oklahoma State winning this one. I think Kansas, again, I think they're going to be able to compete for a little bit, but I eventually do have Oklahoma State winning this one, 37-32. I think the atmosphere down there is going to be a little bit too much for the Jayhawks to handle.
And we go back to the SEC, a rivalry game, a battle of the Tigers as Auburn goes on the road to take on number 22 LSU. I think I'm going to have to take Auburn. I think that this LSU team is in trouble, and I think Auburn gets it done. I like how they look against Georgia. I liked how they looked against the team they played last week, and I love Auburn coming into this matchup against LSU. A little bit of a lighter team in LSU, but give me the Tigers in Auburn.
Yeah, I will say I was impressed what I saw about Auburn 2 weeks ago when they took on Georgia. And especially how Georgia came back and destroyed Kentucky. But I do have LSU winning this one 31-20. I think LSU is just the overall better team here.
I like Auburn. I think Auburn gets them. LSU's defense I'm not going to pick LSU to win a game until their defense shows me something.
One of the biggest rivalries in college football comes back this week. Number 10 USC coming to South Bend to take on number 21 Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame. I don't trust this USC offense.
I'm going to
give me a hug,
Landon.
Landon. I'm giving you a hug. Yeah, give me a hug, Landon. But I got Notre Dame in this one. I do. I mean they need a game where they can go into, where Sam Hartman kind of needs a game. They've had a lot of trouble competition over the last couple of weeks. They need a game, and I think that this is the game that Notre Dame gets it done.
Hey, Landon, you're not getting the hug out of me. I got USC big. I got them winning 40.
Way to spoil it.
Hey, I got them winning. Hey, I think Notre Dame can compete a little bit, but ultimately I know USC is a better team, and I feel like this was the game they were looking forward to over Arizona. That's why it was so close. I have USC winning this one 44-29 over the Irish.
That's fair. It's going to be 50 degrees and rain, so I wonder how them California boys will like that.
That is true. You got to base it on
I'll be in attendance. I got Notre Dame 27-21. I think if it comes down to a low-scoring defensive game, Notre Dame has the advantage. If it comes down to a game like Caden said, Notre Dame's toast in the water. Give me the Irish, though, 27-21.
Yep, and we go back to the SEC. Missouri taking on number 24 Kentucky. I think Missouri wins this one. I think they're a more complete team than Kentucky, especially with the game. Kentucky's not really a team that gets hot out of the gates. We saw that against Ball State when they played them. We saw that against Georgia. And I think that Missouri will take this one because they are a better, more complete team.
I think Kentucky's a better team at home, and that's why I give them the slight edge over Missouri. That's literally the only reason. I have them winning this one 30-27.
Jeez, Missouri blew it last week. I think they get back on track with a win over Kentucky.
And then we move to the Pac-12. How about Chip and the boys and UCLA go to Oregon State to take on Oregon State? Give me Chip and the boys. I love UCLA. I love Chip Kelly and his team. Give me UCLA in an upset.
I want Landon to go first. I'm curious to hear Landon.
Put that on a T-shirt, by the way. Chip
Kelly and the boys.
Chip and the boys.
On the road, Oregon State, or UCLA on the road at Oregon State. Oregon State, man, I like the Beavers. Give me the Beavers in this one.
I was going back. The reason why I was going to say, I hope I agree with one of you guys on the picks for college football. I have Oregon State winning this one big. Not big upset. I have them winning 51-43. I think it's going to be a high-scoring classic Pac-12 game.
And an ACC matchup, NC State going on the road to take on Duke. And, I thought about this game, and then I thought about Duke's Mayo, and I'm like, you know what? Give me Duke. I like Duke. Give me Duke in this one.
Duke's
Wow. Duke's... That's an interesting one. I'm not gonna...
The first thing that popped in my mind.
I'm not going to talk about this one too much. I got NC State winning this one 24-20. I think Duke right now with the whole quarterback situation is very questionable. If Riley Leonard's coming back, and even if he will, he's not going to be 100%. Give me NC State in this one.
Duke, not just a basketball school. Give me the Blue Devils.
And speaking of Duke's Mayo, that'll be put that also
put that on a T-shirt.
Put that on a T-shirt too. But how about this? A little bit of mountain. We decided to go a little bit of a wild card game to kind of round out the Caden. You are dying over there, and I am loving it.
The Duke's Mayo.
Duke's Mayo. You can't go wrong with some Duke's Mayo. But moving over to the Mountain West, Wyoming knocked off a good team in Fresno State. They are 5-1, and they go to take on Air Force. And another game where I had a toss-up. I decided to flip a coin, and it landed on Air Force. So give me Air Force.
Yeah, I'm going to go Air Force. I feel like they're home. I don't know too many teams. I know that Wyoming kind of competed with Texas for a little bit in that game. So I was impressed with what I saw from Wyoming. I think Air Force is overall the better team. So give me Air Force to win this one.
Yeah, big time game there in the Mountain West. I don't think Wyoming's real, the state. I love my country, therefore I'm going with Air Force.
But Duke's Mayo is real?
Yes,
It's very good.
It's good.
Over Wyoming.
Don't sponsor this episode, Duke's Mayo.
Not sponsored.
We'll move over to the Pros League now in the NFL on the biggest results from Week 5.
Sponsored by Week 12 of this.
Yeah, Week 5. This is what our next segment is sponsored by Duke Mayo. No, I'm just joking. No, NFL. We move over to the NFL now. The biggest results of Week 5. The Colts edge out the Titans 23-16. However, it comes with a cost. Richardson is out long term with a shoulder shoulder injury, and the Colts keep their season alive with Richardson being out long term?
I don't know. I've been kind of impressed what I've seen from Gardner Minshew for the Colts and how he's really contained this Colts team and kind of brought them back to brought them back to where they should be. And I do think the Colts are a decent team.
Yeah, Colts are going to they look good in a weak division, although Minshew Mania coming back. Yeesh.
Yeah, how about a team that's really been struggling? How about the Patriots? The Saints completely shut them out 34-0 as Mac Jones just continued to struggle. And the future's not looking good for Mac Jones. Let's be honest. It's not looking good. He's got to find something. He's got to find a groove. He's got to find a game, and he's got to find something to work for before he ends up losing his job.
Yeah, they've played horrific offense and defense. They really need to get something going.
Yeah, I mean, that game was not the Saints shutting out the Patriots. It was just the Patriots just totally folding. Bill's got to go somehow.
I don't think it's really Bill Belichick. I just think that they need a firm starting quarterback. I don't think that Mac Jones is the guy. I think they got to
scrap their team. I really do.
I think they should probably build off another quarterback. I don't think that Mac Jones in this game really proved that he was the guy for the future for the Patriots.
There were so many things wrong in the last 2 weeks with the Patriots. There's not
for sure,
much to talk about.
For sure. And we'll see what happens there. But Saints. How about the Saints getting a shutout against New England? Then we move over to the Chiefs and the Vikings. Chiefs ended up holding on. How about shout out to all the Swifties out there? And they get a win over the Vikings 27-20 on a questionable pass interference call that NFL media, and not only NFL media but NFL fans have made their voices be heard over this call. I mean, there was a call where they called pass interference on the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Javius Sneed ended up taking his helmet off, which should have resulted in a personal foul penalty, and it was not. And then not only did they not flag Snead for it, but they took away the pass interference call. Yes, so what do we really make of that call?
Yeah, we know the Vikings have struggled mightily this season, and honestly, I was impressed it was that close. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it seemed like the home field kind of got that call going for them. But yes, the Chiefs ultimately did get the win. So.
Follow the money. Kelsey and Swift got to follow the money. That's where the ref money lies, and that's where the refs will go in their favor.
Oh, boy. What a great way to end the recap. What a great way to end the recap. And we'll move into our prediction.
Dukes Mayo and Taylor Swift.
Yep, Dukes Mayo and Taylor Swift. How about that? But then we move into our week 5 predictions. Our pick'ems moving into this week for football, for this week of NFL football. How about Thursday night? Denver Broncos going to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and those Swifties out there in Kansas City, give me the Chiefs. I don't think that this Denver Broncos defense is good at all, and I like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to absolutely annihilate the Broncos.
Yeah, this Denver Broncos team has not shown me a lot to be happy about for the Broncos, but I have the Chiefs winning this one 30-13 easy.
Chiefs roll.
That's it.
That's all I have to say.
That's
Chiefs
true.
roll.
Then how about this? The London game that is coming back for another week this week. Baltimore facing off against Tennessee is a very interesting matchup between two very solid running teams. And I don't know. I have to give the edge probably to the Titans, and because this Titans team I think can expose Baltimore and their defense. I think Baltimore is a battered team, but give me the Titans in an upset. I like the Titans, and give me Derrick Henry to roll over the Baltimore Ravens.
I like the Titans in this one, 24-23. I think Derrick Henry finally comes through with that explosive game to really get him going.
I like the Ravens. Bryce Harper just went yard again, by the way.
Oh, boy.
I like the Ravens, by the way.
Yeah, so you go with the Ravens. So then
My dad is very happy right now. He's a huge Phillies fan.
Then we'll move into the Seattle Seahawks going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals have really been on a roll these last 2 weeks. They've really shown their offense to be possibly back, as we like to say. I like the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. I think that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they have found their click, and they're going to roll with it over Seattle.
Yeah, I do think the Bengals have found their groove. I don't know about the last 2 weeks, but definitely against Arizona, they really played very impressive. Jamar Chase had a huge breakout game, and giving the Bengals winning this one 34-23.
Yeah, Bengals finding themselves. Yeah, offense playing great. It's all going to come to an end. Give me the Seahawks.
And the NFC, we go over to an NFC North match of the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. This is the first time I'm going to be picking the Bears in a long time. And I like don't high-five me. And I like Justin Fields. And don't high-five me just yet. I like Justin Fields. I like the way he's been playing. And, I mean, he really showed it against the Commanders. And give me the Bears against this without Justin Jefferson, this Vikings offense is not going to be very good. So give me the Bears, give me Justin Fields.
Yeah, Dane and I agreed on a pick. I do have the Bears winning this one. I feel like the Vikings just have been very flat, and I feel like the Bears coming off that 40-20 victory over Washington, especially Washington, who I still think is a solid defense. Give me the Bears in this one. I have them winning this one 27-24.
Yeah, NFC North rivals for me. Let's say it ends in a tie. I don't like any of these teams.
Our first tie prediction.
I can't pick either of these teams to win.
Yeah, and then we move on to a non-conference matchup.
We don't
San
need to talk
Francisco
about this long.
going on the road to take on the Cleveland Browns. Let's just say it all together.
This is a head nod pick.
Yeah,
49ers.
49ers. Everyone's picking the 49ers.
I got the 49ers winning 37-9.
There's so many questions around if Deshaun Watson's going to play for the Browns.
All right, moving on.
And
We don't need to
this
talk about it.
49ers defense has just been is a very solid, very elite 49ers defense, probably one of the best that we've seen. And I think the 49ers will probably end up rolling over the Browns.
I will say this very quickly. The Browns have a lot of questions, too, going into this week. I don't think it's going to be close at all.
Yeah, we don't really need to get into that. But, yeah, I think the 49ers will roll over the Browns. And we'll move into the Commanders going on the road to take on the Falcons. I'm going to take probably the Commanders this week, strictly because they need a little bit of a tune-up game. They need to find their groove. I mean, they're coming off of a abysmal loss to the Chicago Bears where they gave up 40 points. And the Commanders need a win. They need to find a win. They're going to find it against a very good Falcons defense, and I think they get it done.
Yeah, I think the Commanders defense also comes back alive after that break against the Bears, giving me the Commanders 25-14 over Atlanta.
You lose to the Bears, you might as well call it a season. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, and then we'll move into an AFC South matchup, a very interesting matchup as Gardner Minshew taking on his old team in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't need to talk about this. I think Gardner Minshew kind of struggles. Give me the Jags 23-17 in this one.
I like the Colts in this one. I like the spot that they find Jacksonville in right now.
And I think it's gonna be the Jaguars, and it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be close.
Jaguars are also coming off a huge win against Buffalo Bills too.
They are, and that's what I think is going to edge them out is the fact that they are coming off a huge win against a very talented Buffalo team, and they might edge out the Colts. It'll be a close game, but I think Gardner Minshew throws at least 2 touchdowns in this game.
And 3 picks, probably.
No, not 3 picks. I think he throws 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. But it's going to be a close one. I think Jacksonville will probably get it done. Then we move over to the Carolina Panthers and Miami Dolphins. Also a head nod of a game. Can we all say it? 1, 2, 3.
Fins.
The
Dolphins
are going to get it done.
55-10.
Yeah, it's not going to be close. I think that the Miami Dolphins get it done, and it's not going to be close. Then we move over to the New Orleans Saints going on the road to take on the Houston Texans. How about this Houston Texans team? They've been pretty good. I'm going to take the Texans in an upset. I like the Texans, and I like C.J. Stroud. I like the way this Texans team has been looking so far.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud's been very impressive. Give me the Texans 24-20.
Oh, man, I thought I was going to be the only one to do this. I'm going with the Texans.
Yeah,
Well,
then how about this Josh McDaniel taking on his former head coach again, as he was once a head coach with the Denver Broncos. Now he's a coach of another AFC West team in the Las Vegas Raiders. As the New England Patriots go on the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go ahead and take Josh McDaniels in this one. I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they got a very statement win against the Packers on Monday Night Football. Give me Jimmy G and the Raiders.
I'm going to side with you here, Dane. I got the Raiders winning this one. I think the Patriots finding their offense a little bit, but ultimately I think the Raiders pull it out 23-16.
I like the Pats over the Raiders. Get right game for New England.
Detroit going on the road to take on Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. I got Detroit.
I got an upset in this one. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. I got Detroit in this one. I think Detroit right now looks like one of the best teams in the NFC.
I got the Buccaneers strictly for their defense, and also I'm a believer in Baker. I always have been, and I've been impressed with what I've seen from Baker Mayfield so far and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Give me the Bucs winning this one 27-23.
Watch your kneecaps. I hate to say it, Lions are for real.
The Lions are for real.
I will say they are a very good team.
Then in a NFC West matchup, Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think it's really much of a head nod pick.
It's not a head nod pick. It's just a snooze fest.
I think I'm going to go with an upset. I'm going to say Arizona gets it done. I'm going to go with an upset.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a very interesting pick. I'm going to say Arizona gets it done.
Yeah, I like LA over Arizona. This game is disgusts me.
I may be tuning into this one. I don't know if I'll be asleep for this one. I think it has some. I'm not gonna lie. Give me the Rams 38-13. I don't think this is gonna be close.
This is going to be very interesting. This next match is going to be very interesting. The Philadelphia Eagles, still undefeated, 5-0 in the season, go on the road to take on the New York Jets, a very testy offense versus a very solid Jets defense this year. And I'm still going to take the Eagles. I think the Eagles are very, very good, and there's no one slowing them down. So give me the
Eagles are the second best team in football. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles 34-16. I don't think this is going to be close at all.
Yeah, whether it's in Philly, New York, Jupiter, give me the Eagles.
Also, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania is right next to New Jersey, too.
How about this Sunday Night Football matchup? I mean, you mentioned disgusting games. This game is going to be not very close. I think the New York Giants going to take on the Buffalo Bills in a battle of New York. Give me the Bills. This game's going to be disgusting, especially with how many guys that the Giants going to have out. Yeah, give me the Bills. It's not going to be close.
I got the Bills 50-11. I think they get a safety to end the game. So yeah,
what is that prediction? What is that? A safety? Okay, give me the.
They get 3 field goals and then they get a
Laden's got the Bills.
Bills.
It's our final game that we will predict Monday Night Football: Dallas Cowboys going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. I think it's a battle of offenses versus defense. I think it's a very interesting matchup in terms of how these two teams are struggling. I mean, both their star players are out, and Trayvon Diggs, and you got Austin Eckler possibly out, and you got also Mike Williams also out for the season. So
it's likely to
two
play
teams that have been very banged up, to say the least. But this is a very tough one. I'm gonna go ahead and say Dallas gets it done. I don't think that Dallas in prime time. You can't really go wrong with Dallas in prime time. Give the Cowboys to win it.
Yeah, I think this will be a classic SoFi Stadium Charger game. And if you don't know what I mean, these games are very close. They're very tense. But ultimately, I think the Dallas Cowboys pull it out. The Chargers have too many questions to answer so far. So give me the Cowboys 31-27.
Cowboys are shell-shocked. I like the Chargers to upset Dallas. Would it be an upset?
I think it could be.
I would,
yeah.
I would say so.
I think these two teams are very even. I really do.
This is going to be a good game. I'm definitely going to be tuning into this one for sure.
Yeah, and that'll end this episode of My 2 Cents here on SL Digital Radio, presented by Victor Honda of Muncie. We'd like to thank my guests, Caden, Vincent, and Laden and Traylor for joining me on today's episode. We'll be back next week for another episode of My 2 Cents here on SL Digital Radio, presented by Victor Honda of Muncie. This is Dane Massey saying so long, and we'll see you next week.
This has been a production of SportsLink Digital Radio.